Hello everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay and this is Life.W.Lindsay. So, why am I giggling? Well, before I decided to go live, nope, this isn't live. This is recorded. If you can tell, this is going to be a hot mess of a WIP Chat, which we're doing a WIP Chat. This is so disorganized already, you guys. Let's rewind. I tried to peel the plastic up because I just finished this section over here and it split this way, so I had to peel it up with tweezers and cut it. It was a whole mess, and I decided nobody needed to waste like 5 minutes of their time watching me fumble with the canvas. So for those people who have asked me, hey, how do you section off your canvas? If that isn't further proof that I am the wrong person to answer that question, there's lots of people out there who can show you. I clearly am not one of them. Anyway, before we get into it, let's get into the boring housekeeping tips. If you hear a noise directly to my left, I do have a fan running. If you hear noises, my tiny human is sleeping. And if you hear husband noises, my husband's in the room. Say hi, husband.
Hello.
If you hear noises that sound like a hairdryer, that's his heat gun. If you hear ghostly howling sounds, that's a heat gun on a pop head. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, my husband is the data monster. And all of his stuff is linked down below. And he does customize Funko Pops. So he's working on a pop right now. So, also if you guys hear a beeping noise, I do use a timer. Like that. Beep, beep. So this is a new section. And I am doing a WIP Chat. And if you don't know what that is, a WIP, W-I-P, it stands for work in progress. I'm going to shift my light pad a little bit. And you can either work on your current WIP, whatever that may be, diamond painting, any other crafting, honestly, whatever you want it to be. You can listen while you're doing chores. I mean, there's really no wrong way or right way to diamond paint. So you do you, boo. And I'll be over here being the conductor of the Hot Mess Express. Choo-choo. Yesterday was my daughter's birthday. And she actually got a wooden train set, which she is absolutely loving. And we set it up in a figure 8 shape today. Oh, sorry, before I get further into that. This is the old shoe house. I'm sure you guys figured that out by the title of the video. But I finally, after a month of working on this, have gotten to the actual old shoe house. So, I hope you enjoy. So, yesterday was her birthday, and we got that train set. We did a fun little quarantine-style birthday with Zooming of friends and family, and gifts were opened over video chat that were sent to us, through Amazon or wherever else people got their gifts from. So, it was super, super sweet. And she has the train set up right now in our living room. And we had it set up just like in an oval track yesterday. And my husband and I decided let's rearrange it to do the part where the bridge goes over the tracks. I feel like maybe I should have reloaded that. We're just going to keep going until I can't. And, we've learned, first of all, she doesn't like to make the trains go over. She just likes them to go under. So it'll be like this and they'll come through. But she likes to sit in the round part where the tracks of the figure 8 part. And then when she needs to shift to the other way, she moves to the other part of the round section. And it's the cutest thing to watch. She's really enjoying it. She had a really lovely birthday. It was really nice. We were super low key. She requested as her birthday meal for lunch, she wanted an Old McDonald's cheeseburger, which is a McDonald's cheeseburger. And the funny thing is, she doesn't ever get McDonald's, but she got one last week because we were picking up something in the car and she ended up having a bit of a tantrum and we realized she was actually starving. If you guys don't know, my daughter does not recognize her hunger cues, and usually we recognize that she's hungry before she does. And she just started crying, like tears streaming down her face, and we're like, what is wrong? And then finally it was like, are you hungry? And then she was like, I need to eat now. And so it was like 10:50 in the morning, and we're like, all right, well, McDonald's serves lunch now, right? So we got her a hamburger or cheeseburger. And I don't know if it's that she loved the cheeseburger so much, or the fact that it came with a Mickey Mouse toy in it. Either way, that's what she requested, and that's what she received. So my husband picked that up for her. We just transitioned. The things I'm going to talk about here might be different names wherever you live, but if you live in the States, and I can't vouch for anything in the other countries because I really don't know. But in the States here, every state has what I'm talking about. They just sometimes go by different names. So for us, we were in the birth to 3 program, which here it's called early intervention. And the whole point of it is to catch whatever it is early and make sure that by the time your child hits school age, that they are up with their peers. Does that mean there's anything wrong with your child? Not at all. For us, looks like I have some washi tape down here. Let me peel that off. For us, we put our child, okay, so you have to be approved and you have to qualify for whatever services you're going for. So we got her evaluated, I want to say she was like 15 months old. And we started her it's called SI, which is special interest. And we found out later that our particular county does not actually offer speech therapy services to children under the age of 2, unless there's, some dramatic need for it. And we worked on speech and language development, but with a different kind of specialist until right before she turned 2. And then they actually added in a speech therapist. And then we were able to focus on speech and behavior with her SI therapist. And then mainly behavioral stuff with her. And then most of our speech stuff came directly from our speech therapist. That was a lot of really boring stuff. Sorry. But it worked out because I needed to peel that up. So we did that, and when you turn 3, literally the day you turn 3, you can no longer receive services through early intervention. So Briar had started early intervention around 15 months, and we ended up at the end being reevaluated, and they decided, it's really interesting because the requirements for speech in birth to 3 versus the preschool program that's run through your school's, your county school, the birth to 3 program only cares that they have a certain amount of words. And once you get to that point, there's really not much more they can do. So for us, it's never been that our child has a lack of words. She's always been very vocal, I'll say. It's just nobody has a clue what she's saying, to put it lightly. If she's talking about Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse, you're probably going to understand most of what she's saying. However, if she's having a conversation with you, you might catch a word or two, but there's times she'll go on and I don't understand a single word she says. So they dropped us from speech when she was about 2.5 and took us away from SI as well, which was heartbreaking for me. I loved our therapist. And they put her in OT, which, if you don't know, OT is occupational therapy. So most counties offer physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, SI. Some also include feeding therapy, and if you qualify for this program, it's completely free of charge. So we've been doing therapy services since like 15 months. And that's the heat gun, in case anyone was curious. So anyway, we got to the transition part, and we knew we were going to be leaving early intervention because she's aging out, and we were going to be starting the transition into the preschool program. Now, whether your child actually attends preschool or not, the program from 3 to when they start kindergarten is still run by the school district. So if you're having speech services, for example, you're having speech therapy that is going to be relevant to being in a classroom. And this is why I say the program was called early intervention. And our preschool program here is called the intermediate unit. Early intervention, it can oftentimes be used to catch a lot of things. So a lot of people in early intervention get into it because, you know, their child may not be sitting up or rolling over or crawling at what is deemed a normal pace, and then might find out, you know, their kid has some sort of delay, or they just are taking longer. You might have a kid who has some speech issues. A lot of things can ping as flags for autism or other developmental delays, which brings us into today. So for us, our family has been going through the process with a local agency here run by the hospital called CADD, which stands for the Center for Autism and Developmental Delays. And they do a full assessment. In our case, it was over the span of 4 sessions. Does not need to be that many for every child, and I imagine they have situations in which they might need more. For us, our first 3 were all virtual, and after the 3rd one, they said, well, you know, we don't think we got enough information, so we'd like to do another one in person. And the in-person one was really interesting because, excuse me, they put us in a room behind, like, double-sided, is it double-sided glass? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, like police.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can see us. We can't see them. Obviously, I knew they were there. So we went in, and they basically wanted to observe her playing. And this child, when we left that appointment, I was like, who was that child? Because that's not my child. That child wasn't frustrated. That child didn't caveman. When she gets frustrated, she has no words. It's just points, grunts, stomps. That child didn't throw a single thing. I was flabbergasted. Now, of course, the second the session was over and we left the building, she threw herself on the concrete outside, like literally out the front door, and started crying because she wanted to walk. And I said, girlfriend, how do you think you got outside? So that was our 4th session, which the 4th session really, I don't think gave them anything. I can't imagine it did. But today was the big day to find out the results. So talking with this woman on Zoom, and the first thing she says to us is, I just want to make sure that you guys brought her here because you were interested. You had some reasons to believe that she may be on the autism spectrum. And I said, oh no, that I'm not sure where that miscommunication happened. We have never suspected our child to be on the spectrum, and neither has anyone around her. However, she does have sensory issues, which is very common for kids who are on the autism spectrum. And she's like, oh, okay, well, because we didn't find any findings of her being on the spectrum. And I'm like, okay, cool. Step 1 down. And I will be completely honest with you. My biggest fear going into today was they were going to go, we see absolutely nothing. And then we would have to be going back to the drawing board and being like, well, what do we do now? So she said, I'm going to explain to you what we found, and then I'm going to explain to you what our recommendations are. And if you have any questions about either one of them, you let us know. If in the future you feel things may change, you can come back in and we will, reevaluate her again. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm super nervous, and we knew she has some attachment issues, not like attachment disorder issues, like, she puts emotional attachment onto things to the point that it's peculiar and detrimental. Let's just say that. So it makes a little bit more sense when it's the cute stuffed animal. But today, for example, my husband came in and all of a sudden she burst into tears and he's like, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong?" And I was like, "Briar, why are you crying?" And she said, "Minnie Mouse is so cute." But not like, "Oh, this is so sweet. It's so cute." Like, it brought her to tears, and they weren't happy tears. It really got to her. And this is something that happens in our world 5-10 times a day. Yeah, I know. And I don't know. I know I mentioned that my husband's here. I don't know how well you guys can hear him. So if you hear him and then you hear me repeating it, it's probably because I just want to make sure that you guys heard what he said. Anyway, so her OT that we had with early intervention, who we now no longer see because she aged out, had mentioned to us a few things that, as her personal, not professional, personal experience as both a mother and a therapist, these were things she wanted us to keep our eyes on and make sure that they were very much aware of when we did the evaluation. And that she said no matter what the results are for our evaluation, that she highly recommends that we get our child into play therapy, which I don't disagree with. That's a whole other story because play therapy is difficult to find for that age. And then you have insurance that plays into it. And that's boring talk, and I know nobody cares about that at this exact moment. So they said to us, well, she has a communication disorder, which is their way of saying she has a speech delay, which we've known since she could talk. And like I said, she's got a huge vocabulary, but it's very hard to understand what she says a lot of the time. And because she lives in a constant state of frustration, if you ask her to repeat herself because you couldn't understand her or you couldn't hear her, she's very soft-spoken. She has a very sweet voice when she's not yelling at you. But it can be very, very soft-spoken. And, I explain it as most children live their lives in state of happiness and have moments of frustration. For us, it's the other way around. She lives in a constant state of frustration and has those happy moments. Sometimes those happy moments are for hours on end. But because she has the inability to communicate with us freely, I don't want to say she can't communicate because she can, but to freely be able to communicate with us, it increases her frustration. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the lack of speech cause the frustration and the behaviors? Or did that interfere with her being able to figure out how to work through things? We don't know. So that was not a surprise to me to be told that my child had a communication disorder, which that doesn't have to necessarily be speech, but that's what it is in our case. And there's nothing developmentally that she's hit all of her milestones always. And we will be working on enunciation with her in the IU program. Unfortunately, because her birthday is right around Thanksgiving, fun fact, she was born on Thanksgiving, everybody's on break right now, so we have to wait for them to come back from break to start therapy. So the other thing that they came back with is an unspecified, I'll just say that, anxiety disorder. And you're probably thinking to yourself, a 3-year-old can have an anxiety disorder? You betcha. And we see it every single day with her. And like my husband was saying a minute ago, her attachment to things, it's detrimental. You can see how distraught she gets over things that are like, she asked me for her milk cup and I walked to the fridge to get it. And in that time, because she didn't have it in her hands, she doesn't know how to deal with it, and then she gets overwhelmed. So their recommendations for us is outpatient therapy services, which is exactly what her OT had recommended anyway, and speech services. Now, they said that if the speech that we're receiving for free through the county does not seem to be enough, then we have a reason to seek outside speech services, clinical speech services. So we thought, we were under the impression that sensory processing disorder was something that could be diagnosed with that. Let me just preface this for people who are unaware. The term comorbid or comorbidity, it's saying that they go together. So, for example, if you have a child who is on the spectrum, it is and has sensory processing disorder, those things are comorbid. The DSM, and this is really boring, so I'm going to try to move past this quickly. The DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistics Manual, which is used to diagnose everything, they don't recognize sensory processing disorder as a standalone disorder. And so they can't clinically diagnose her with that because she's not on the spectrum and doesn't have anything else that they can attach it to right now. So we're going to continue to carry on and work with her on sensory things, whether it's, on her medical record or not. We know that's what she's suffering with, and the more we understand it and understand how to help her, the better she will be as parents. Now, I know there's going to be somebody who's listening to this and thinking, why are you trying to find something wrong with your child? And I'm not at all. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set her up on the best foot humanly possible. And if that means I get her in on therapy services at the ground running, and this becomes part of her normal routine, then so be it. And this is something my husband and I have been on the same team about. We've always known there's something different about her, but we never knew what it was, and we never knew how to address it. My child throws everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. And to the point that we've had people tell us, oh, well, she'll grow out of it. Okay, when is she going to grow out of it? Because we've been hearing that since she was 6 months old, sitting in a high chair eating food. Which we did baby-led weaning, so yes, she was sitting in a high chair eating food. If you don't have children, you are the best parent in the world before you have kids. And if you have children, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Before we had her, which if you have not picked up on it, she is our only child. Before we had her, we were both firm believers of, these are the things my child will do, and these are the things my child will never do. One of which was, when you see that child having a tantrum in Target, in Walmart, in the supermarket, and you think it's over something stupid, and you're like, I can't believe this kid is freaking out because they didn't get the ball they wanted. Or you walk by and you see that child laying in the aisle, and you wonder, what kind of parent would allow their child to behave like that in public? And then you have a child. And then you have a child like our child. And then you understand. Sometimes those things are happening because that child is overwhelmed. And I'm definitely getting emotional here, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And if you don't have children, I hope that you take what I'm saying here and you really absorb it. And if you do have children, then you probably remember what it's like, or maybe you're in those throes right now. But when you see that child laying on the floor in the store, it might be because their pants hurt them. because the seams make their skin crawl. It might be because that thing you just said no to them was the only coping mechanism they had to keep themselves together. When you see a child who's 5 years old still sucking on a pacifier, mind your business. That might be the only thing that can get them to calm down, to soothe. I never, ever thought of any of these things before I had a child. I always just assumed, well, and obviously wrongfully assumed, that this was bad parenting, or you had a misbehaved child. And if you ever see that woman or that man who look completely overwhelmed in the aisle of a market, it's okay to walk over and say, you're doing a good job. It's okay to say, is there anything I can help you with? I had a moment, God, I can't even remember how long ago this was. And this was before we knew that she had sensory issues. So we were approaching everything as everything was behavioral. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and blame all of her behaviors on sensory. I'm well aware that a lot of the sensory things are sensory and behavioral things are behavioral. And sometimes they cross, but sometimes they don't. Excuse me. So, this was when my husband was working in a store, and I had taken the baby to the market, and I couldn't get through the aisle. I was stuck in one aisle for 40 minutes, and every time I took a step, every time the cart moved, she started screaming. I had no idea what was going on. She wasn't wet. She wasn't hungry. She didn't need a bottle. So yeah, she had to be like 1.5 years or younger, because she was on bottles then, I think. And I was so completely overwhelmed. And I just called my husband and I said, please, just come to the market and get her. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with her, but I just need to get the last couple ingredients for whatever it is we're trying to make for dinner. And I cannot do it because she just won't stop screaming. When the cart stopped, she would stop screaming, but I can't leave my kid and then go grocery shopping. That's not really allowed. And at the time, we just thought, okay, what the hell's going on? And my husband did. He came on his way home from work. He was only a few minutes away, and he put her in the car seat, and he said once she got out of there, she was fine. But every time she started screaming, I had people stopping and staring. And people of a certain demographic tend to be the ones that speak up in negative ways and don't realize that it's not appropriate to say some of the things they're saying, if you're catching my drift here. And I had this one elderly woman that came up to me and told me in not so many words that what is wrong with your child? Why can't you get control of her? You're not doing a very good job. So here I am, already overwhelmed with a screaming child who doesn't appear to be hungry or thirsty or need a diaper change. And now I can't do anything else because I can't move the cart, and I'm just crying in an aisle, and I'm completely overwhelmed. And these are situations where I'm like, wow, if this was pre-baby, I would have seen that and I would have thought to myself, wow, get it together, control your kid. And it's definitely not that easy. Now, am I saying every child that is tantruming in an aisle of a store is tantruming because it's a sensory issue? No, not at all. But maybe that child is freaking out because they had a really bad day. Maybe that parent is screaming at their child at the top of their lungs because their husband left them with nothing. You don't know people's backstory or the reasons that they are the way they are. And if we just approach things as everybody deserves the same amount of kindness, because you never know what somebody is going through. And most people are really good at hiding their pain, and some people are not. And it's obviously it's not anybody's business if they're not sharing that. But I just wanted to kind of put that PSA out there, because before we had her, we would have seen those moms completely overwhelmed in an aisle and been like, well, you're the one who chose to have the baby. Or, why can't you control your own kid? And I realize that as I'm saying that sounds really judgmental of me and pretty awful of me, but let's face it, anyone who's going to sit here and say they've never judged someone for the way they behaved is not being truthful with themselves. And that's okay. You know, I'm not here to police your emotions and your feelings. I'm just offering, I was going to say, the flip side of the coin. Yeah, it's really hard. And I have friends who have normal kids, typical children who don't deal with any of the issues that we deal with. And even then, they don't fully understand it. But everybody is walking a path that you can't see. Everybody. So those people you see on social media who are living their best life, that doesn't necessarily mean that their real life is as perfect as they're portraying it online. I've been very open and honest about my struggles that I've had, especially over quarantine. Excuse me, my mental health struggles, if you will. Quarantining with a toddler is exhausting, to say the least. Quarantining with a toddler who is not your typical toddler is exhausting, to say the least. And we're definitely going to get to a point where, when it's safe for us to take her out and about to go everywhere we're going, which is not up for debate in this. And if you're watching this in the future and we've survived the pandemic, yay! But if you're watching this in present time, you know what I'm talking about. It's going to be incredibly overwhelming. When you see portrayals of kids having sensory meltdowns, you typically see the child rocking and covering their ears because of the sounds. A lot of commotion around her does overwhelm her. That's not how she responds to her behavior. That other people's children, it will. But things that you don't think could be that big of a deal can absolutely be that big of a deal. If you've ever worn a shirt and you had to cut out the tag because you didn't like the way it felt against your skin, imagine being stuck, perpetually stuck, where things are making you uncomfortable that you can't remove, that you can't get rid of. And that's what a lot of kiddos with sensory issues deal with. And for us, we don't have textural issues with clothing or with food or anything like that, which is not uncommon. And every child who has sensory issues, whether it's sensory processing disorder or just trouble regulating certain aspects of sensory needs, they react differently. Just like you could be in the same room as your best friend and one of you could be hot and one of you could be cold, but you're in the exact same room. Same thing happens when you're dealing with your other senses. So for us, we notice she's under responsive to certain things and over responsive to others. She seems to tolerate pain much better than she should. I don't know how else to word that. She also is completely unaware of hunger cues, being thirsty, having to go to the bathroom, having gone to the bathroom. It does not register for her. So one of the gifts we got for her birthday, which to everyone who put something on their story on Instagram or who posted on Facebook, or to the people who joined the Zoom or sent her a gift or just any kind of well wishes, I cannot thank you enough. Everybody's kindness and generosity blew me away. She has no idea what's going on. She doesn't understand that the world's super weird right now. Like, she gets that there's something going on, but that's as far as it goes. And it's super weird to say that I have a 3-year-old because it's just super weird. If you have a child, you probably understand what I mean. I feel like I was just going to say something else and I lost my train of thought. But we got her, it's this princess pod, and it's super cute. You know those little, like, pop-up tents that you have at the end of those collapsible tunnels? It's like that, but this one is pretty big, and we were hoping that it can offer her a quiet, distraction-free zone when she is overwhelmed or upset or frustrated, or if she wants to just play in it. And it seems to be working out really well for her. Unfortunately, with the layout of our house, we spend all of our time, like as a family, downstairs, which is where the living room is, the kitchen, the dining room, that's all downstairs. And then she sleeps in her room, which is upstairs. And we don't have a space for her downstairs that's away from everything else. So we didn't want to make it that, oh, we'll just take her up to her room, because then it feels like a punishment isolating her away from everything. But sometimes she just needs a few minutes to herself, to gather herself, to realize it's okay, nothing's being taken away from her, no harm is happening to her or whatever the thing is at the moment. Today it's Sparkly Minnie, it's usually her kitty cat, it's been a plastic banana before, it's also been a medicine dropper, so lots of different things, and it seems to be working. So we're really excited about that, but it's cute. She went on and on and on for days about the only thing she wanted for her birthday was a Mimo daisy cake. And Mimo is what she calls Minnie Mouse. And it's super weird because she can say Minnie Mouse, but she typically calls it like the Mimo house or the Mimo car. But then when she's looking for her toy, she'll be like, where's Minnie? Where'd Minnie go? But she got a sparkly Minnie Mouse Beanie Baby, and that's the cool thing to her right now, which, you know, she's 3, she likes Minnie Mouse. If it doesn't indicate how big this section is that I have peeled up right now, if you guys don't notice what I'm doing, I'm just shifting my light pad, which is under here, up or down. But it was really, we wanted to make sure she had a good birthday. I didn't want her to feel, like she was missing out on anything. And I think she really seemed to enjoy it. And, thankfully for us, yesterday we went in for her 3-year checkup. And, I'm going to also cry. My child has been grossly underweight her entire life. She was born little, she stayed little. We have always been in single digits for our weight percentages. Obviously, she weighs more than 9 pounds. Well, I shouldn't say that, but she weighs more than 9 pounds. And because of the height that she is at, when you put the weight for the height, which is how you calculate BMI, she has been under the charts forever. And for the first time in her life, she came back as having a normal BMI. So it has been a really long and hard journey for us to get her to gain weight safely. And don't get me wrong, my child eats... Oh, excuse me. She probably eats more foods than probably some of you guys watching, but many of our friends, she eats She loves different ethnic foods. She loves Thai food. She loves Indian food. She loves Mexican food. She just loves flavor. And because the fact that this child has never stopped moving, ever, she was just burning more than she was taking in. And pair that with a couple other health things, we've just always gained weight super, super slowly. Like, super slowly. So, for us as parents, that was a huge accomplishment. That was probably one of the best moments that came out of yesterday, other than the joy and excitement our child had for it being her birthday. Oh, and when I was saying she was so excited about the cake, she didn't even eat the cake. She took one bite of the cake, put the whole slice in her hand like this, took one bite, and then played with the icing and said, "All done, Mommy. All done, Daddy." But, she's such a bean. Little nut. I love her. I love her dearly. And in case you are new here and, you weren't aware, I don't share my child on social media. So, my Facebook group and my Instagram are all linked below. They're always linked below. And if you're on there and you're looking to see cute pictures of my kid from her birthday, you're just not going to find them. And those are for my own personal reasons. And obviously I don't need to justify myself to anyone about the care that I want to provide for my child. But I have been asked, well, are you going to post any pictures? And no, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not. I really protect her. And one of the ways I do that is by not putting her photos up.
We get enough crap for our family.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, I actually had somebody recently ask me, she's like, "Do you mind me asking you why?" And I said, well, first of all, the first and foremost thing is obviously for the safety of my child. Not to say that if you have a child and you share their image that you're putting your child in danger, and I don't think, I'm not here to judge you on what you want to do. I just know what's right for me and for my child. And the older she gets, the more difficult it is. But we want to save her and protect her. We want to be in control of who's seeing what. And if I post something on Facebook, even if I make my page private, there's nothing to stop anyone from saving that image and sharing it or reposting it or anything like that. But the other thing is, some people have never seen my child because they don't deserve to. And let that sink in, because I'm sure that we all have people who are in our life or who crossed our paths who aren't deserving of certain things. And I know it sounds weird and harsh to some people, but it's the truth, and it's our decisions as parents. But yesterday was wonderful. We were able to get her in for her appointment, and yesterday was the last day that the preschool program was in session before the Thanksgiving break. So we were very, very lucky to get a session in yesterday with our head teacher and our OT, and got to meet them both, which was lovely. It's all virtual. And the school district has very graciously provided us with an iPad, and I am super excited about it. I've got a computer that's old, and my cell phone from doing therapies all the time, it's struggling to hold a charge. And with a laptop, obviously I want her to be more careful with it because they're not cheap. And with a cell phone, she's not going to sit and truly pay attention. I don't know if you've ever video chatted with a toddler, but they don't understand the concept that your camera is like in the corner. And they think because they can see you like this, that if they put something in the middle, that it can be seen on camera. So if you have ever video chatted with a toddler, you know you're probably going to see the top of their head or their eyeball. Are you going to see whatever it is you want them to be showing you? Probably not. And this is supposed to be more of a formal classroom setting, so this is absolutely perfect. And it was funny because they said, you know, please make sure that they only use this for the videos, for the sessions. And I was like, absolutely. I'm not letting her play any games on it or watch movies or anything like that. Which, again, one of those things, my husband and I, not for, like, our own decision, we don't really do screen time with her. And again, this is definitely not a judgment thing, because we would love to be able to just put on an episode of Mickey and clean up around her, or cook dinner, or prep dinner, or do literally anything that she will not be up my butt for. Or my husband's, for that matter, because my husband does the majority of, well, pretty much everything around the house. But, thanks. Also, another fact, the kitchen makes me super overwhelmed. That's another story for another day. But we learned that if there is a video of any sort playing, she is completely unaware of her surroundings. And I know some people are going to be like, well, she's just really into it. No, 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 no. Like, my house could be on fire and she would not notice. And not only that, we've had moments, plenty of moments, where she's the kind of child you need to prepare for something being turned off or happening. And sometimes it helps, and other times it just is a constant reminder that we're going to, in her mind, take that thing away that she wants. So to prevent the meltdowns and the tantrums, I don't know what is happening here with this letter. Sorry, this is making a lot of noise. We just don't do it throughout the day. She gets one episode of Mickey before bed if she's good and if we have time. And that's it. Every once in a while, if it's like a really crappy day out, we'll put on a movie and watch it together as a family. But I would say that 99% of the time that gets turned off, it's a huge, huge shitstorm. And, you know, not much you can do about that. When you know it's coming, and it's happening, you just have to let it ride. And that's what happens. And, but we were very thankful that the process to transition us into the preschool program moved much more smoothly than I was anticipating. It took them a little bit longer than I would have personally liked. But that I'm not in charge of that. I can't make it go any better. And we'll see. Right now we are doing speech 4 times a week. Nope. 4 times a month. And the sessions for the preschool program are 30 minutes, which you might go, that sounds like a really long time for therapy. Well, when you just got done doing hour-long sessions, it's a bit like, oh crap, are we going to be able to get done what we need? But at the same token, most kids that are 3 and 4 years old can't really sit there and do these kinds of things for an extended period of time without losing interest, which is why they make them shorter sessions. We have not started speech yet. That will start in December for us. The other thing we are doing is we are joining our OT sessions with our SI instructor. And we'll see how that goes. We get each of those twice a month. So originally we were going to do them, they would alternate, but they like to do their services together. And we said, we're willing to try it. I don't know if having 2 people throwing things at her at the same time is going to be more overwhelming to her than doing 8 sessions a month. So we kind of have to play things by ear. I expressed my concerns about not the way the program's run, but the way things are going to be run for my child. It's hard enough that every single child who is in any kind of virtual learning right now is exceeding the amount of screen time that is recommended. Every single child is doing that right now. That paired with the fact that, like I said, she doesn't do well with videos. I said I would prefer, if we're doing lessons, that they be something that's concrete and that I can replicate at home without having to turn on a video for her. And I had to remind them that again, but here's one little thing that I would love for you to take away from this video today. Other than the fact that it doesn't take a lot to make me cry. Oh, I thought I was going to get a comment from the peanut gallery. Well, that's true too. You are your child's biggest advocate. Whether you want that position or not, whether you are comfortable or not standing up for your child and fighting for everything that they need and they deserve. And it sounds like this big, scary thing, and sometimes it can be. But if I don't say, these are the things I need or don't need for my child to succeed, they need to work with me on that. And so far, they've seemed very receptive to allowing me to express my needs and wants as her parent. And my husband and I have been told by many therapists now how much they appreciate when they tell us they'd like us to try something. We'll try it. If it doesn't work for us, then I'm not going to enforce that as that's how things are done. Perfect example of that is when she throws. We've been told everything from acknowledge it to ignore it, to reacting to not reacting, to, talking about it calmly, to bringing it up at a later date. Nothing we have done has helped that. But we've tried everything. And when I tell you everything, we have tried everything. Some kids are just more stubborn than others. And I know my mom's not going to be watching this, but my mom would get a kick because she sees my daughter and she's like, wow, she's like exactly how you were. And I'm like, cool, thanks. Thanks. So, but you have to stand up for what you believe in and what is right and what your child needs. I remember when our kiddo first had some of her health issues, the one doctor we saw flat out said to me, well, I'm a doctor, so I'm smarter than you. And I said, that might be, but you don't know my child. And he told me that I was going to put rice cereal in my bottle. And I said, I will not. And I never did. Again, if that's something you've done, it's not a judgment zone. That was not something for my child. And, that's when I realized that just because doctors have the background in something and the education in something doesn't mean they're always right. And it doesn't mean you have to listen to everything that they're saying. So if you don't agree with what they're saying, put your foot down. And this is for yourself too. Like, don't think that you only have this kind of superhero ability to advocate for your child. Do it for yourself. If you're not getting the care you deserve with your doctors and the people in your life, stand up for yourself. Put your foot down. I was talking to somebody whose daughter is seeing multiple nurses at the same specialist, and each one tells them something different. And I said, you have to put your foot down, and I know it's hard. You have to put your foot down and say, until the two of you can be on the same page, you guys are putting me in a very difficult situation, and I need there to be clear-cut answers for me. And I know, especially for people who are non-confrontational, this might seem like something that sounds like a terrible idea, but they work for you. The doctors work for you. You don't work for them. If you don't like what they say, you're not locked in. That's why second and third and fourth and however many more opinions exist. Our child has been, this is her third pediatrician. She's seen 3 GI doctors. We would like to find her a new ENT just to get some answers. That's going to have to wait until, like, the pandemic's over. But stand up. Speak out. It's hard. And, so when people make comments about, well, you're just looking for something to be wrong with your kid. You're just looking, which I have had people say that to me, just in case anyone's going, who would say that to you? I've had people say that to me. I am going to continue to fight so that my child doesn't get lost in the system, or that she doesn't fall through the cracks. And if that means learning that skill when she's younger and continuing to stand up for her as she grows up, that is what I'm going to do. 0 questions ever asked. And I hope that that will rub off on her, and that that will help her to grow up to be a strong, independent woman. And all I can think in my head right now is, strong, independent woman, she don't need no man. And I, you know, or whatever.
Except her daddy.
What?
Except her daddy.
Yeah, well, daddy's like the apple of her eye, as she is yours. But how many of you have children and they, like, hate when you and your spouse hug or your partner hug? It's like, I swear, we even talk to each other. She's like, ugh. She's very territorial. But I love when she just looks at me and she goes, I love you so much, Mommy. And every time, dang, girl, you're making my cold black heart melt. She's a really sweet, loving kid. And I hope that me fighting as hard as I am is setting her up to be on a path for a happy and fulfilled life. And that's what it's all about, right? As a parent, you just want better for your kid. You want more for your kid. You want your kid... You never want your kid to hurt in any way. And so that's why I fight for her. And that's why I advocate like crazy for her. And, you know, there's different levels of it, guys. If you feel like you can't get on a platform and talk about it, you don't have to. But if you are at a doctor's appointment and they say something to you and they want to rush you out the door and you don't understand, you say, you know what? Our appointment's not over yet. I need you to explain that to me. That's a really easy first step. Or stop second guessing yourself and saying, you know what? I want to get a second opinion. Whatever it is. Just do what works for you and your family. But you are in control. Don't let anyone ever make you think otherwise. And that was really hard. And as much as I hate watching all the struggles that my kid has gone through in her short little life, and I'm not going to say that as if her struggles are the worst struggles out there, because we have peers who have it far, far worse than we do. And life isn't a competition. Some people will make it seem like it, but you don't do better in this world because you don't earn points for things. This isn't a video game, you know. This is real life. And if you're operating as such, then that's just going to be detrimental to you. So it's not a matter of whose kid had it worst, whose life was harder. It's a matter of getting through it, surviving it, and thriving in it. And doing it for yourself and not at somebody else's cost. Because that's also a huge thing. And, totally forgot where I was going with this. But, oh, knowing when our child was born, we knew something was up. And we were written off. And I know I've mentioned this in many of my WIP chats or my lives. We were written off over and over and over again as first-time parents. What would you know? And turned out we were right. There was something going on. And after being dismissed so easily by her medical team, we realized that we had to stand up and fight for her, because if she couldn't do it, she was a baby. If the people that I'm coming to see aren't going to listen, then who's going to listen? Where does that line get drawn? And so as much as I hate seeing the pain and the hardships that she's gone through to get to where she is today, it definitely shaped who I was, who I am as a mother. And there's something to be said for that. And on that note, we have been here rambling for a little over an hour now. I want to thank you guys so much, as always, for all of your love and your support and your kind words. And again, everybody who posted about my child's birthday and reached out to us, you will never know how appreciative the two of us are. So while you guys are here, make sure you give this video 2 thumbs up, 1 real life, 1 virtual. Make sure you subscribe to the channel while you are here. Come, join the Sparkle Squad. And make sure to hit that notification bell. So that you are notified whenever I upload a video. I do not upload on any type of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time. I record when she is sleeping or when she is sleeping. So, with that being said, thank you guys for being here so much. And I'll see you on my next one. Bye!